back safely. Project Gemini was, we're going to send 2 people into space, and their mission, they're going to have missions to dock an unmanned, like lunar module almost, see docking into space and also walking out into space. So that was Gemini's project, and that became successful. And a lot of the astronauts that were in Project Gemini moved over to Project Apollo, because some of the Project Mercury guys, a lot of them were either like John Glenn, he was like retiring, or run for Senate, which came later, and a couple of guys had medical issues, so they were able to move on to Project Apollo. They were given higher up NASA jobs. Only a few were able to go into Project Apollo. So once they began Project Apollo, that was the end goal of Apollo was to land a guy safely on the moon and then bring, two people on the moon and then bring them back. So, which goes up to Kennedy's mantra, President Kennedy's mantra that he addressed when he addressed Congress in 1961. I'm going to land a man on the moon by the end of this decade and return him back to Earth safely. So it was accomplished. But it wasn't accomplished without some setbacks. Apollo 1, Gus Grissom. Hold on, let me bring that up. But what do you think so far?
No, I mean, you were just sort of explaining, leading up to why we went, what it took, under which president's direction. I mean, someone like Kennedy, who's trying to inspire the nation after World War II. So one can easily understand why.
Yeah, like I was saying, Apollo wasn't without its setbacks. Apollo 1 mission, which consists of Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, were killed in a ground test in preparation for the Apollo 1 mission. So people died, and they were test piloting crafts, aircrafts that NASA was looking at to be able to build, migrate into the Apollo, Project Apollo.
Can you imagine that? You get selected as a possible astronaut to go to the moon, and you die on Earth during testing.
Yeah, I mean that's the price you gotta pay, which kind of pay to get to the end goal and get to the moon, which kind of pisses me off about some of these with a lot of these conspiracy theories, because people died doing this, trying to get there, and we'll get into that.
I think just as a okay, I'll save it for later. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we finally end up getting there with Apollo 11. We all know the story. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong becomes the first person to set foot on the moon, makes his famous speech. It's one
step for man, one giant step for mankind.
One
small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Yeah. Do you think he said that? Do you think that was impromptu?
I think he said it was impromptu. Well, he said it was supposed to be something more religious.
I mean, it's a long trip to the moon.
Yeah.
He just sat there writing, scribbling it out over and over.
Like it's one giant leap. Mama, I did it. Fuck these hoes.
He just turns he just writes something down, turns to Buzz shakes his head.
Like you can do anything you want to. Like literally, you want to be Superman. Kids tie a blanket to you around your neck, jump out the window. Buzz like, no. No, Neil, no. Michael Collins just not listening. He just like, I got some buttons to push. What the fuck you talking about, man?
Knees weak, arms ready.
Yeah.
Vomit on the sweater. Mom
spaghetti. Buzz is like, no. So Apollo 11 lands on the moon, comes back safely. We all heard of Apollo 13 because of the film. Houston, we have a problem. And the Apollo missions end after Apollo 17. Because people started to think, oh, going to the moon is like a walk in the park. No, it's not a walk in the park.
So total in the period of time when the Apollo mission was happening, or just overall total, what, 12 people have ever stepped foot on the moon?
Yes, 12 people.
Think about that for a second.
Only 12.
Out of 7 billion people living now, how many people have been alive since 1960? What? 69?
Out of the 7 billion people that are alive today,
12
walked the room, but they're not all alive. So it's only, 6 people? Hold on, let me count. 1.
I'm just saying, like, as an overall, like, percentage of humans, 12? That boggles the mind.
12 people left on the moon, and only 4 of them are still alive today. 4.
That's insane. I mean, just think about it for a sec, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
The moon, this thing that we humans have been looking up at for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
12 humans who have ever existed have been there and been back to talk about it.
Yeah.
That boggles my mind. It's just...
And this the thing is that you talk to the 4 now, and they're like, we want more people to go.
Yeah, right.
Because after these 4 are gone, there's no one left to tell the story.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you got it on video, but it's nothing like hearing it from someone who went there, did it, came back, and it was like, this is what it was like. Now we over here they're over here going, and I hate to sound political, but it's like, you know what, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. You know, you over here, it's like, oh, people wasting money on this, and people wasting money on that, we doing this, we doing that. You don't take that much money to fucking go train some people and head back to the damn moon.
So, to be fair, though, in that argument, I think it's a ridiculous argument because it's like 0.0000001% of the overall budget.
Yeah.
The operating budget of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
What like NASA gets.
Yeah.
Still, having said that, NASA and its government sort of bloatedness does do it for a lot more expensive than private companies are can and are. Mm-hmm. I think SpaceX is going to get there with people on the moon. You know, in a considerably quicker amount of time that NASA will be back on the moon with people.
Right.
For a lot cheaper too.
Yeah,
a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So the people that make the argument like we shouldn't be throwing money at NASA because it's sort of a waste.
Mm-hmm.
I get the argument that it's overspending in terms of like what we get for what we spend in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who say we shouldn't fund them at all, who gives a fuck about going to the moon, I just look at them and say, going to the moon, there's a really, really great Neil deGrasse Tyson speech about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard it, but he talks about how going to the moon inspired an entire globe of people to dream about the future.
Right. And also, even getting to the moon, it inspired so many people, and it also got a lot of people opportunities. And we're not talking about the astronauts.
Oh, right.
In general.
Right.
We're talking about, like, people who were working on projects.
Hundreds of thousands
of people working on Project Mercury, working on Project Gemini, working on the Project Apollo. Them looking for new scientists. They were handing out. One of my professors who had benefited from one of these programs.
STEM?
I think it was STEM.
Mm-hmm.
They were giving scholarship money to African American and Hispanic young people in the inner city to study science. And they were giving scholarships to state universities around the country to look for new scientists.
And I would argue
and Neil deGrasse Tyson probably benefit from that program also. And a lot of the scientists that we had. And that was just one of the opportunities that we're handing out because of trying to get to the moon, trying to beat the Soviets to the moon, and trying to be the first people to set foot on the moon. And also because of the civil rights movement too. But because of that, a lot of people get opportunities they wouldn't have not gotten if it wasn't for the United States trying to push, and the Soviet Union trying to push people to go to the moon.
That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point alongside with what you're saying. I think the opportunity, yeah, sure, but if people aren't motivated to want to pursue science as a career choice,
right.
Who cares if the opportunity is there? Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Opportunity, great. Yes, it was there because people were motivated by the space program.
Right.
By, kids just looking at the news in 1960 something and seeing that NASA's doing something humanity's never done before.
Right.
What's more inspirational than that,
Yeah.
So, to you guys listening, if you get a moment, go on YouTube. It's like a 7-minute video from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
I think the video is called "What Is the Future Worth?"
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how NASA is underfunded.
Right.
And it talks about why NASA is important, why the space program is important, why landing on the moon is so important, why the famous. I'm sort of derailing the topic here, but I really this stuff is important to me. The first shot of Earth from outer space was done on, if I'm not mistaken, was it Mercury 8? The shot is called Earthrise, and it's essentially the first time humanity got to see the Earth for what it is, which is just some landmass floating around on some water without borders, without politics. Oh, it was Apollo 8? Okay.
Apollo 8, yeah.
Earthrise, right?
Yeah.
It's so vitally important. Listen to this. After Earthrise, after that famous photo, Earthrise, in the upcoming years, the EPA was founded.
Yeah.
The Environmental Protection Agency. As Neil says in his speech, before that shot, people didn't think about Earth as one floating rock through space, honestly. They didn't. It was all about politics, war, and all the things that humans have gone through over millennia.
Yeah.
That shot changed everything, in my opinion. We started sort of thinking about the possibilities of the future and where science can take us. Right. So when people say NASA should be defunded or that money's going to waste, I can't disagree with people anymore than that. Just what are you talking about?
It is important, and we did do extraordinary things. We're very limited. I mean, they got to the moon with less computing power than the cell phone I'm recording this podcast on.
And I think that statement was made like 10 years ago when cell phones smartphones had just come out.
Yeah. And
so who knows what these phones are now?
Shit, like I could literally get to the moon with my cell phone if I want.
You're right.
I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but it was done. But with that with what we had just said and the inspiration and the hard work, the hundreds of thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people who benefit from this, there are people that are out here saying that we didn't go to the damn moon, that we failed in our mission, and that we've been covering up for a long period of time for multiple reasons. Did you like literally? They did a survey back in 30 party survey. The